Welcome back to the Knit Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the Beachside knit pillow. This is a basket weave pillow and this is using the Bernat Maker Home Dec yarn. So if you're interested in the basket weave, this particular pattern shows how to do that. It is a one-sided pattern as the other side looks completely different. So it's a really great idea. I really like this idea. It's really quite simple even for me as a beginner knitter. I was actually quite enthralled with it. If you'd like to change the size, I'm going to be talking a little bit about that as well, and we're going to be working on this project today. So in today's pattern you're going to need a 8mm or US 11 knitting needles. It doesn't say to use circular knitting needles, but I prefer those. It's just easier to keep it on. And we're going to be using a Bernat Maker Home Dec today. So we have the pillow face. It does say to cast on 64 stitches, but I like to change up things because you may want to make this into an afghan. So if you keep it in multiples of 8, you'll be successful each and every time. So every group here, so 1 and 2 is 8. And so there's another 8. So there's 2 groups of 8 here. So as long as you have groups of 8, you're gonna work on this project each and every time. Now if you prefer that your project be like this, okay, so it looks like it's balanced on both sides, it'll be a set of 8 plus 4. So that just helps you out with that. So today's pattern I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to be knitting and then purling and knitting and then purling. And what I have in my sheet here below is that I kept track as I went because it does like to switch every now and then. So it just likes to switch and then we just can follow that on the pattern as well. So when it switches then it changes, as you can see right here. So let's begin and let's cast on so many stitches. So for those that are new to knitting, we're just going to create a slip knot. We have slower tutorials available on the basics of knitting and we're going to insert our knitting needles in. So what I want to do is that I want to cast on in groups of 8. But if you're going to do the pillow as I show, it's casting on 64 of these stitches. To cast on, just simply go into the loop like so. Let's get that yarn into our hands. You may hold it differently than me. You're going to wrap that back needle there, bring it forward, but before you put it back onto the one that I'm touching right now, you're just gonna twist and then slide on. I'll show that again. So going in, wrap that back one, coming forward, twist, and going in. So you're gonna do a total of 64 if you're doing the pillow. If you want to do anything else, just chain on the amount that you want. As long as you keep them in sets of 8, you're always going to be able to be successful with this pattern. So for myself, I'm only going to cast on 16 just to show you how to do this pattern. It's a really quite an easy pattern and you can get used to doing this one pretty quickly I think as well. It's just my sample didn't take very much time for me even as a beginner. So please cast on the number of stitches that you prefer in order to play today. So the way that this pattern works is that every other row is just a straight knit going across. Okay, so you don't have to do anything about purling, nothing, just straight knitting. Every other row is like that. So you get a bit of a mental break from being able to do this. So in row number 1 we're just gonna knit. So we're just gonna go into the stitch, just coming in from behind, see where this needle is, wrap it and bring it forward and slide off. So you're just gonna work your way all the way across. I have a total of 16 on my knitting needles to keep myself in balance, and this is just called the knit stitch if you're new to knitting, and you're just gonna knit all the way across for row number 1. Please do so. I'll see you at the end of this row. So let's begin row number 2. So I turned my knitting needles around. I still have it. Everything's been knit in row number 1. So row number 2, 4, and 6 always start off the same way before we do the transition of switching. So for example what we have here, we're gonna have 2, 4, and 6 and then we transition and do opposite to what's there in order to make it look like it's basket weave. So let's begin row number 2. So rows number 2, 4, and 6 are the same way, but I will take you through it anyway. So what we're gonna do for rows number 2, 4, and 6 is that we immediately purl into the very first one. Okay, so we're coming in, making sure that this yarn is in front of this front needle right here to purl, and we wrap it and we come through and purl just like so. So we're gonna purl the first 4. So that was 1 and we're gonna purl the next one. This is 2. Okay, purl next is 3 and 4. So now that you got your 4 there, the next 4 are just straight knitting. So move this yarn backward and behind the needle and knit stitch 4 in a row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like that. So that's your group of 8. Okay, so that was your multiples of 8. So let's start the next section. So we're gonna then go back to purl for 4. So move this yarn forward in the front of the project and purl the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I've been knitting for regularly for about a month now. I'm actually getting a lot more smoother with these knitting needles than I expected to. So then the last 4 are just straight knitting. So just straight knit stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So do you see how we started? So we started off with 4 purls, 4 knits, 4 purls, 4 knits, and you continue that same idea going all the way across your particular row of stitches. So when you're ready to move on for row number 3, we're going to do so next. So as promised, every other row is just a straight knit. So coming in, making sure the yarn isn't behind first when you start your knit, and just straight knit going all the way across. This is row number 3. So every other row you get a mental break, just speed along, just get your knitting done, and it's every other row then you got to worry about that purl in order to create that basket weave. So remember, this is just straight knit, and I'll see you at the end of this row. So let's begin row number 4. So we're returning back to starting with the purl again. So coming in the first 4, just make sure this yarn is still in front now, and you're gonna purl the first 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, like that. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna knit, right? So you're gonna move that back, and so the next 4 are just gonna be a straight knit. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then what are you gonna do? You're gonna go back to a purl. So move that yarn forward and purl for 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, like so. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna return back to knit. So just move the yarn back and knit the final. So that was row number 4. So do you see the concept that you're doing? It's actually pretty easy, right? It's not too high to count to, and therefore you got going on. So if you look at your project now, you probably can see the pattern is starting to develop on the other side, just like you see here. So let's move along and go to row number 5. So keeping with my theory, every other row is just straight knit, right? So the last row we did that special purling stuff. So this row we just knit all the way across. So please do so for row number 5, just straight knitting back and forth, or just over across. I'll see you in here for row number 6 in just a moment. So row number 6 is the last time that we're gonna follow this particular pattern before we do the switch over after this. So again, the first one will be, and make sure this yarn is in front, the first 4 will be purl again. So this is the last time that you'll start like this for this group of stitches before we have to do that transition to kind of make things opposite to get that basket weave look. So the first 4 are gonna be straight purl like that. Move that yarn back, the next 4 are knit. Okay, and then the next 4 are purl. So you can really zoom along on this once you get comfortable with your knitting needles if you're a beginner like me. And finally moving that back, and the last one are just knit. So we're gonna move on to number 7. What do you think it's gonna be? If I told you every other row is just straight knit, what do you think 7's gonna be? That's right, it's gonna be straight knit. So I'll see you there in just a moment. So this is row number 4. So I told you it's straight knit, and guess what? It is. So what's gonna happen then in the next row, row number 8, is that we are going to switch the starting point to be opposite to what it was. So last time when we were doing this, we were doing purl 4, knit 4, purl 4, knit 4, and you continue that all the way down the line. So what's gonna happen on row number 8 is that we're gonna do it opposite. So we're gonna knit 4, and then purl 4, knit 4, and purl 4. So we're just changing the starting, and this will change that look, and it will create the basket weave look by doing so. So it's really quite an easy pattern to be able to follow. It's just a matter of keeping track of the amount of rows that you do to make it sure that it looks pretty even. So I would continue to write things down if I were you in order to keep things in balance. So let's move on to row number 8. So row number 8 is gonna do opposite to what we had been doing. So the first 4 will be just straight knit. So 1, This will change around the stitch look. 2, 3, and 4. And then the next 4 are straight purl. So just move that yarn forward first and then purl the next 4. Your sample may be much bigger than mine, but it's still the same thing. Okay, and so that was 4. Move that yarn back. You're gonna purl the next 4. Sorry, this is knit 4. I apologize. I know somebody's gonna make a comment on that. Okay, and then the last 4 are purl. Okay, so it's opposite to what you had been doing before. So that was row number 8. So what do you think is gonna happen on row number 9? Row number 9, straight knit, right? Because every other row, that's what I said it was gonna happen. So row number 9 is just a straight knit, and I'll see you there in just a moment. So let's turn ourselves around. You can start seeing that the pattern is starting to come out on the knitting needles, just like though. Okay, row number 9, as promised, is just a straight knit across. So this happens every other row, no matter what row that you're on, as long as it's every other one. And this gives it time to grow in order to create that basket weave. So just knit yourself all the way across for row number 9. So let's begin row number 10. So the first 4 are gonna be knit. Okay, so we're gonna continue that established pattern. So the first 4 are knit. Then the next 4 are what? That's right, it's gonna be purl. So let's move that yarn forward and purl the next 4. Hopefully you're getting the idea of this pattern, right? It's not that hard. Actually, I just learned this pattern, so it's not like I didn't know how to do purl and knit stitch before. It's just I never realized that I could put them together so easily. So the next 4 are knit stitch. So and then the next 4 are what? Purl, right? So you're gonna purl. So that concludes off row number 10. Just like that. Okay, so that was row number 10. So there's only 2 more rows before we start doing the repeat pattern. You can see it's really coming out now. So row number 11 is what? It's just a straight knit, right? Every other row is just straight knit going across. So then you got one more row, row number 12, and row number 12 is the finale of this repeat pattern. So it will take you back and we repeat 1 through 12 again, and 1 through 12 would then will reverse exactly what we're doing right now in order to create that look of the basket weave. So this is row number 11. Got one more row to do, and then we just transition back to row number 1 again, and then go all the way to 12 in order to create that look. So you can reverse the video if you'd like to be able to do that. That's up to you. If you understand, I would strongly recommend you do write down your stitch rows as you go, and it just makes it so that you don't accidentally screw up and put an extra. So that was row number 11. Okay, so let's do row number 12. So let's begin row number 12. So row number 12, the first 4 are knit. So this is the last time we'll be starting like this for the repeat pattern. So the next 4, so the 4 here in a row are knit, and then we switch over to purl for the next 4. I'm gonna start you on the repeat pattern as well, just to make sure you got it, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that as well. So we're just doing everything that you already know, and you're keeping in balance. So I've lost count. 1 2 3 4. I've got one more to go, and continuing along. So I'm gonna knit the next 4. So if I look at everything in groups of 4, it's just a lot easier to mentally be able to handle that. Okay, and then I purl the last 4. So when we go to start off with row number 1, what do you think that we're gonna be doing? That's right, we're gonna just be doing the straight knit across. So we're still continuing that idea that every other row in between is just a knit. So you still get that mental break that you really would probably prefer, instead of having to count every row. So that's what makes this kind of easy to my point of view as a new crochet, or as a new knitter. So let's just turn our work. So this is the last time you've done that. So now as we move to row number 1 again, it's gonna be completely opposite. So you can see that this is the first section we did, then there was a number 2, and then it's gonna switch back and it's gonna change again. So let's just get you started to make sure you understand what you're doing. So essentially you're just gonna take the pattern as you know it and just keep repeating rows 1 through 12. So the first row is just straight knit again, and then row number 2, what's gonna happen is that we are going to then start off differently in the front. So we'll purl our 4 to begin, and then we'll do our knit. Okay, so it's just opposite to what we had been doing in the last few rows. So that gives you that look that you are desiring for the basket weave idea for this particular pillow. Again, you don't have to do a pillow. You can do an afghan. You can do many things because I've given you the secret answers. The number is 8 for doing multiples of this kind of idea as well. So I'm gonna get you started on row number 2, and then I'm gonna leave the rest of this pattern for you because you can continue to reverse this video and take you back in order for you to be able to follow along if you're still not getting it at this point and you still need some help. Okay, so I'll see you on row number 2. So we're back on to row number 2. Remember that the first 4 are gonna start off with a purl this time. So 1, 2, okay, 3 and 4. Just like that, and then the next 4 are knit. So hopefully you get the concept. I think you really just need to keep that pattern close to you just to make sure that you are watching your counts as you go. And I've actually gotten used to this pattern already, which is kind of amazing because I've only done a little small sample at this point. But I've gotten used to just kind of eyeing out the groups of 4 without actually mentally having to count too much as I go. So I can just physically just look at the needle and see the groups of 4 quite easily, to be honest with you. Sometimes you gotta use your fingers, obviously, like a I forget one of those tools where you have to slide the numbers. Remember those old tools? So then the last ones are going to be knit. So that's it for now. This is Mikey on behalf of the Knit Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. This is the stitch work in order to do basket weave, but also you can make that beachside pillow that I've provided you the pattern for, and that's in the more information of this video if you'd like that. So you can see this is how it turns out. It looks amazing. And until next time, I'm Mikey. Have a great day. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.